Today I'm going to show you how you select the best branch for your hunting boomerang. Welcome to another episode of Warwick Naylor's Boomerang Adventures, and today I'm going to show you how you select a piece of wood from a living tree to make your hunting boomerang. Now they're also called Carlies and Kylies, throw sticks, depending on where you are in the world and what family you grew up in, I suppose. But I grew up calling these hunting boomerangs, and this one is my favourite. It's made out of Strickland's gum, and Strickland's is a native to Western Australia. Its proper name is a Eucalyptus stricklandii. So it's a very hard wood. It's got a great strength across between the fibres in the grains, and that gives it a really nice flex. When it hits the ground, it doesn't shatter. I've hit a fence post with this thing, a steel fence post, or a star picket, and all it's got is that little bit of wood taken out there, so it didn't crack it. It just chipped off where it hit. So I'm really impressed with this wood. So I'm going to show you what the tree looks like. It's actually right behind me, and how to select a piece of wood from it, and then to get it to the stage where you can put it away in the shed and let it cure for about 12 or so months. So that's what I'm going to be showing you today. So let's get into it, and I'll crank up the chainsaw. So ideally what you need is a tree with a branch, a good thick branch with a kink in it. Now this branch here is probably ideal. It's got that nice sort of 7 sort of a shape, and because I know by experience, because I've thrown this one a lot, it's got to be minimum kink of that angle. I don't know what the angle actually is, but I know that if the angle is any more obtuse than that, so if the boomerang's any straighter than that, it will flip. So it needs to be sharper, equal to or sharper than that angle there. So I'm going to cut this off, and I'll show you basically the size that we need to make this log. And just one more thing before I get started, I'd like to mention that I'm going to use a Wood Boss steel chainsaw, and that reminds me to talk about the sponsor of this video, which is me, because I paid for it. You see this heartwood down here? That's what we're chasing. So that dark brown stuff in there, that makes the best wood for it. So we've just got it back to the basic shape, and I'll take this off here. So it's good to cut a long way both sides of the kink, so if it cracks up the wood a bit from the end, if it cracks up here a bit, then you've got plenty left in that section there to choose from. But if you cut it too short, if you cut exactly the same length as the boomerang, you're going to get a crack in the end, and then it will be short, and then it will be too short. Okay, well, I reckon that's pretty good, because that heartwood there is what I'm chasing, so it's pretty thick right the way through. And let's get my throw stick. It's got to be, that heartwood's got to be thicker than that current hunting boomerang wood is there. So that's right. and it's got a better angle than it. So it's going to have no problems finding that correct angle when I start working on it in the workshop. And I'll go ahead and I'll cut a couple more up. It's a good idea to cut more than one, and yeah, it's been a bit of a pain. I'll actually show you something. Just hang on. 12 months ago, or it might be 14 or 15 months ago now, I cut another piece of Strickland's gum, and I did all the right things as far as I could tell, but I left it in the shed and I wrapped it up in a bag and everything, and to slow down the drying process to stop it cracking. And when I took it out, it was at least 12 months later, and I thought, oh well, it's finished, it's done its job. It all dried out, the bark had fallen off, and I think it was still a little bit green in the center, and it just cracked like mad. So I know that crack goes right the way through because I can see it on the end going right the way through. So there's no point in me putting this on a bandsaw or to take slices off with the chainsaw, because I'm just going to be blunting a saw for no reason, because there's going to be cracks right the way through this thing, because it goes, you know, right up to the kink. So that's a right pain. So I made a mistake there, and it's cost me more than 12 months. But it's okay because I haven't broken the other one. But if I do, I'm going to be in a bit of trouble. And anyway, hopefully I don't, or lose it. So I'll go ahead and I'll take it, see if I can find another 2 branches, and then I'll be able to put them away. If something goes wrong with one of them, it's the wrong shape or there's a natural crack through it, I'm not going to have such an issue because I have a backup. But right now I don't have a backup, so I don't want to go through that again and lose 12 months of curing time. So I'll stack them up and in a minute, and I'll show you what I've got. Right, I've brought my logs back into the shed, and I'm pretty happy with what I've got. 3 decent sized logs there, all with a good curve. One of them's quite a bit more than what I've already got, and this one underneath is a little bit less, but I can make do because I can sort of angle it, like make the cut sort of across that way when I do it, and yeah, it'll still work. So first of all, you've got to get the oil on the end where the cut is. Get right on there, and then just to stop that water from coming out, because it's surprising how heavy that log is. Compared to that one there. Even though, you know, it's a little bit smaller, but the bark's come off, so that's making it look smaller again. But that's, you know, over a year old and has no water in it anymore. And it's surprising how much water weight is in wood, and that's why it cracks, because water comes out quickly, the wood fibres can't handle it, and they split open. So you want to slow down that process. So I'm going to put this linseed oil on the ends. I'll give you a look at that. Yeah, I use linseed, but you could use anything. It's a bit nicer to smell, isn't it? So it's surprising how it soaks it up. So I'll do all the ends of these, and that's heavy. Oh yeah, look, now look at this. I don't know if you can see that. It's starting to crack already. That's because it's a pretty warm day, and but that pressure has come off the wood. So not just water coming out of it, it's there's pressure inside the wood that once you cut it, it'll sort of naturally spring open a little bit. That'll contribute to the cracking as well. You can't do much about that, but that mainly happens on the ends. So that's why you cut it longer than you think you need it. Okay, so that's the two ends covered. That's the other end done. Okay, so just got some black plastic bags here. And these are organic, so which probably means they're not going to last as long. But keep a regular eye on the plastic bag, make sure it's not perishing, and update it if need be. Now, got to be a bit careful with putting it in a plastic bag and sealing it up really well, because I did this one time when I was about 20, and I cut a nice branch off a swampy Ada occidentalis, and I was really happy because it was the right shape, and you can hardly ever get occidentalis the right shape. And put it in this bag, and I put it under my bed, and 12 months later I came to get it out and see how well cured it was, and it had grown 2 branches about that long on it, and they're both almost pure white. So I'd done nothing in that 12 months except grow a couple of sticks. So I took it out, and then I slowed the process down of turning it into a nice dried wood a bit quicker, and ended up with a reasonable sized stick. So we don't want a full seal, we just want more like a partial seal, slowing the growth of slowing the drying process out. So I'm just going to double bag, one on one end, one on the other, and that'll be enough to seal it. So it'll let some moisture out, but it'll really slow it down. The moisture will get out in between the 2 bags, and that should be just enough. I'll get a bit of string or something. Okay, I've tied that off. Meet them in the middle with both ends, and there's just basically a very loose seal on that. And let's take it over to the other spot. You've got to put it somewhere basically where it's not going to be disturbed. So on a shelf or underneath something, out of the sun, and where it's not going to get damaged. So I'll stack the other 2 up there and check them again in about 3 months and see if that bark's falling off. If the bark's falling off, I'll peel it off and then treat the whole log with linseed oil, and then put it back in the plastic bag and let it sit for at least another 12 months. Have another look at it and see how it's going. Take it out, check it again in a couple of days. If it's starting to crack, I'll put it back in the plastic bag, and then leave it for probably another 2 or 3 months and try the same process again until it won't crack. and then I'll be able to work on it. So it could be a year and a half away, or hopefully not more, but it could be more. So I'll take you through that process of what I do when I make it next time. I've already got a video on how to make a hunting boomerang, but anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next episode.